Morning, everyone. It was great to see all those who came to the service yesterday. It was the first time I'd been to one of our communal outdoor services, and wasn't the weather great for it? Well, today I want to talk to you about some thoughts I've had about aging and how we might view it. And I'll start off with a couple of little stories. About 20 years ago, I was in London for a meeting. Bear in mind that 20 years ago I was only 47. And I was walking down some steps in St Pancras Station, and I heard footsteps running down towards me. And suddenly I was pushed to one side, and the person doing the pushing said, "Get out of the way, you old geezer," as he went past me. Well, he didn't say geezer, but he used a word I couldn't use on here. You just have to use your imagination. It left me a bit shaken. Not so much by the physical push, but by what he'd said. And about 10 years later, I went to visit my dad, who was in respite residential care following a hospital stay. And I was sat with him in the Homes Lounge, and you know the sort of thing where all the church chairs are arranged around the perimeter of the room. So we were all sat in there. And I'd arrived just before there was a change of shift for the staff. My dad and I were chatting when the member of staff who had just come on duty went round each of the residents to say hello. And she said hello to my dad, and then she came to me and she knelt down in front of me and said, "This must be your first day here. How are you feeling? It must all seem a bit strange, but you'll soon get used to everything, and we'll make sure that you're looked after. And anything you want or need, you just got to say." Well, I couldn't speak. I was taken aback. And my dad nearly lost his false teeth and couldn't stop laughing, and he had tears rolling down his face. And the staff member took my lack of response as me being upset. And she took hold of my hand and started patting it to comfort me, saying that, look, everyone feels like this when they first come in here, but there's really no need to be upset. But eventually my dad managed to get his false teeth back in properly, and he rescued me, and he told her that I was his son and I was just visiting him. And then he said, he's only in his 50s. You know, it must be the grey hair and the white beard. It must be, mustn't it? Well, unless I've got such a face, you know, that looks old, way beyond my years. I don't know. But yeah, I've obviously become old before my time. That's the perception of some people. But I don't know about you, but I always feel like I'm about 16 in my head. Not sweet 16, just 16. And but I hope that I've still got something to offer, you know. I'm still interested in lots of things, and to some people I'm still young, aren't I? You know, someone who's 90 might see me as being young. I am starting to forget sometimes why I walked into a room, but I think that's fairly common, I suppose, from our 40s onwards. You see, I didn't like either one of those responses that I received. One was cruel and harsh, and the other one was meant to be kind and reassuring. But I felt both diminish me. And I got a little taster of that, about how many people view those they deem to be old. I got a little taster of how I felt to be on the receiving end. And those of us who may be even a little older than me might recognise some of those differing responses. There's a tendency to forget who people are and what they've been in their lives, to dismiss their experience and their knowledge and hopefully their wisdom. And part of why I'm talking about this today is I watched the knighthood of Captain Sir Don Moore by the Queen last week, and it really touched me. Here were two people, one in the 90s and one 100 years old. A great example of dignity of age, and people who have such experience and are still giving. And Sir Tom, what he achieved was wonderful, wasn't it? He raised over £32 million for NHS charities. And he is quite rightly lauded, not just by the Queen, but by the whole population. But if we saw him on the street, shuffling along with his walking frame, would he be afforded the same respect? Would we recognise all the things he has contributed in his life? I'm not sure we would. You see, we sometimes only see the surface, don't we? The grey hair, the wrinkles, the physical difficulties that can come with age. You know, I think that older age is still seen in many circles as shorthand for ill health and inactivity and decline. And that stereotype can prevail unless we challenge it. And it doesn't just mean older people challenging it, it means younger people challenging it too. And there's also an unhelpful stereotype of older people as being anti-young people. And sometimes some intergenerational work between the generations, can be a great barrier to break down barriers between those groups of people. So for young people to appreciate the experience and the skills of older people and vice versa, so we can foster greater understanding between people. Maybe, you know, this is something in the future that we could get involved in, initiate, have some sort of project, maybe in connection with local schools. Anyway, you know, there's such a great diversity in older age now, and you can't really generalise, can you, about a group of people who may range from 50 years old to 100 plus years old. You know, we have a growing older generation. But I have to remind myself that I'm now officially an older person and have been for the last 18 years. You know, the Bible presents growing old as a normal, natural part of life in this world. And that there should be an honour in the ageing process, because growing old in the Bible sees increased wisdom and experience. I speak for myself here, and I'm not sure about that. Experiences, yes. Wisdom, not always. And in Job it says, grey hair is a crown of splendour. How about that then? I should have turned around to that man and say, hey, this is a crown of splendour, I'll have you know. In Timothy it says, never speak harshly to an older man, but appeal to him respectfully as you would your own father, and talk to the younger men as you would to your own brothers, and treat older women as you would your mother. And finally, this really sums everything up. It sums the law, doesn't it, and the prophets. So in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you. For this sums up the law and the prophets. That's from the Gospel of Matthew. We always need to keep that in mind in all our dealings with others, old or young or in between. And that's it for today. I'm a little bit older than when I started, about 11 minutes I think. And I'll speak to you on Thursday, I think. Take care and keep safe. God bless. Bye-bye.